Welcome to tonight's Saturday Night Special, episode 62.
I'm Wayne Titus, author of The Entrepreneur's Guide to Financial Well-Being. I encourage you to be inspired to become a better steward through financial wisdom by listening to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend Scott Mader.
And you can see that coaching can plug in and help with all of these in different ways. There's activities that I've done with clients where I help them keep a hope journal, where they spend some time dreaming each and every week or each and every day and journaling about what hopes they do have. Because a lot of times those hopes have become buried, but as you begin to pay attention to them, they come.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world.
In tonight's Saturday Night Special, I share a bit about hope therapy and what it actually is. I share how coaching is, although not therapy, useful for this. And I talk with you about why hope is fundamental to change. One area that a lot of folks need some help with is around the area of productivity. Getting not just more things done, but actually getting the right things done can be really, really tough. I've got a course called Productivity for Your Passion that's designed to help you do this and then to hold you accountable and walk with you so that you can tailor productivity not just to be getting more done, but actually getting the right things done. What's more, we take the approach of looking at your personality and how you actually look at things in the world and tailor the productivity system to your personality. Because the truth is, a lot of the systems that are out there are written really well for somebody with a particular personality type. But if you have a different approach to things, they just don't work. But there's tools and techniques and approaches that you can take that will work for anyone. And we help you do that in Productivity for Your Passion. Check it out over at inspiredstewardship.com/launch. So this week we've been talking about hope. And one of the things that I've come across in the studies that I've done of psychological literature and psychology is this idea of hope therapy. Now, it's based on this idea of hope theory. I mean, first off, you have to believe that hope is a real thing, that it actually exists, and that it has some sort of indicator for our ability to look forward to the future and do things and achieve things, be more productive in things. But we talked about this week, and I think by now, hopefully, you can see that that's true. But basically, a lot of times when you think about therapy, and this is still sort of the idea we have, is that therapy was based on finding negative symptoms and then removing them so that you get to better mental health and better mental performance. But the idea behind hope therapy is subtly different. It's more of a positive psychology movement that exists now, where the focus is on increasing well-being rather than treating an illness or helping someone with something that's holding them back, per se. It's out of positive psychology that this is born. And so rather than focusing on unpleasant or things that are bad, hope therapy is about positive self-talk. It's about using your imagination to develop and find your hope. And it's about developing relationships and connecting with supportive networks. So it's designed to help a client find clearer goals, produce multiple pathways to that goal, and reframe barriers as challenges and brainstorm ways to overcome them. It helps improve satisfaction. It helps improve resilience. It helps deal with some levels of depression. And it's not necessarily a replacement for therapy, but it's certainly something that can be helpful in many, many situations. A hope therapy approach can also help you develop relationships that feed off of each other and allow you to work together, maybe with your spouse or others, to be able to feed and help each other with hope. So the interesting thing is coaching, though it's not therapy, and it certainly isn't, coaching can often work in this same sort of positive psychology way, because a lot of what you do in coaching is that forward looking. It's about helping clients find goals and set goals and develop a realistic way of achieving those goals. It's about helping them overcome the barriers and the obstacles that come up anytime we're moving towards achieving any sort of goal. It's about helping the client visualize the future and dream about it in a more positive way. All of these things are part of hope therapy. And it's also part of what we do in coaching. Now, again, coaches are not therapists, and I would never represent that it's a replacement for therapy if that's something that is needed, but it's certainly something that can work alongside it. The truth is that hope is necessary for change. Having a level of realistic hope, having the ability to see that there is something that you can do that will make things better is good. There's studies that have been done, and hope correlates with greater academic performance, with greater athletic performance, with greater physical and psychological well-being, measures of feeling more comfortable and more hopeful about your life. Obviously goes along with hope. The feeling of being more successful and being more connected and having less stress are all measured as factors of hope. Hope can be a protective factor that helps people bounce back from things that are outside of their control more quickly. There's tons of benefits to hope that are necessary and fundamental to change. But it's often hard to develop and find hope, especially during challenges. See, the truth is there's different things that can cause us to lose hope or to have our hope damaged. One is what they call the skidding effect. This is when things feel like they're completely out of your control, and being able to find ways to take little bits of control is part of the intervention that's needed. Another is called the bruising effect. This is when you've received a life setback, something that has happened to you, and you feel again that this has developed a sense of hopelessness around it. The boomerang effect is when somebody has tried everything they can think of and then finds themselves right back where they started from. They've continued to work at something over and over and over, and yet it always returns to where they started. And then the last kind of hopelessness is around what they call the alien effect. This is feeling like no one else understands you. No one else understands the problems that you're facing. And you can see that coaching can plug in and help with all of these in different ways. There's activities that I've done with clients where I help them keep a hope journal, where they spend some time dreaming each and every week or each and every day and journaling about what hopes they do have. Because a lot of times those hopes have become buried, but as you begin to pay attention to them, they come back out. There's ways called hope maps, which is where you visualize your goal and you begin to identify problems that could come up and barriers that could come up, and even brainstorm about what you would do about them. You could even spend some time exploring what you believe about hope and what you don't believe about hope. What do you think is true about this feeling of hope? Do you feel plugged in with your real meaning and your real hope and your real dreams? Or is it just something that you're continuing to struggle with and not really ever getting in touch with the bigger why? See, the interesting thing is when it comes to making change, when it comes to doing things different, having the hope that it can happen is fundamental to actually making the change happen. And just like hope therapy is a tool that can be used, coaching can be used as well. If you felt yourself losing your hope, then seek out a therapist or seek out a coach who will work with you on rediscovering your hope again. And that is the first step towards making positive change. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you enjoyed this episode, please do us a favor. Go over to inspiredstewardship.com/iTunes rate, all one word, iTunes rate. It'll take you through how to leave a rating and review and how to make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so that you can get every episode as it comes out in your feed. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.